In a world that's bright, come take a seat on the beat. We gather where laughter meets. Every Tuesday's a trip. Come share your flair. In this warm embrace, there's love everywhere. Talk it out, all vibes alright. Nobody's wrong in our light tonight. So join us in this cozy space. We're talking it out with love we embrace. No topics too bold, no dreams out of reach. Together we rise, that's the joy that we teach. From stories of pride to journeys of heart, we celebrate life, each unique part. A safe haven here, where spirits soar free. Together we rise, that's the joy that we teach. Let the colors shine bright in the warmth of the night. So join us in this cozy space. We're talking it out with love we embrace. No topics too bold, no dreams out of reach. Together we rise, that's the joy that we teach. Let the colors shine bright in the warmth of the night. So join us in this cozy space. We're talking it out with love we embrace. No topics too bold, no dreams out of reach. Together we rise, that's the joy that we teach. With each word we share, we bring the light. Join the talk show, let your heart take flight.
Well, here we are again, guys. I'm your host, SayCo Alford, and this is another episode of the SayCo Show, where we discuss what? All things queer and my life and my career right here every Tuesday night, just like our little intro song states. I'm so glad you're here. I can see that we already have people here in the Podbean live chat room. So I'm glad you guys are here. My buddy Todd up in Canada. Todd, you never fail me. I'm so appreciative for your support of the show. I am talking to you right now live from my home in Goodlettsville, Tennessee on my vintage Electro Voice 630 vintage microphone. So y'all let me know how the sound is coming through on your end. Guys, oh my gosh, we gotta talk. It finally happened. Like I said on one of the other platforms we're on, I did kind of a small mini preview show on some of the other platforms about what we're going to talk about tonight. Tonight, we're talking about the first time, which happened last Friday, the first time talking to my brother. And so we're going to be talking about that tonight. This is episode number 319. And then I've got some juicy news, and we'll talk about that at the end. But yeah, we're super excited. Brother Derek's in the house in Ohio. Derek, I'm so glad you're here. So guys, 7 years ago, took a DNA test. Have you all ever done this? Now, we've talked about this on the show before, and this will go along with all of those shows. So go back and listen for the whole story. But guys, I couldn't believe it. It was a 2-for-1 special. I did 23andMe. And my spouse always wanted to know how much Scottish he was. I wanted to know how much Greek I was. So we took the spit test. You know, they send you these little boxes, and it's got a vial. You spit into it. It takes like 20 minutes to just keep spitting, and you finally reach the marker that it wants you to be at. And then you pour in the solidifier, snap it closed, shake it, and it, becomes solid for mailing it in the mailbox. And that's what I did. You send away some of your DNA and they test it. Now, guys, the funny part about all this, and I've talked about it in past episodes, something on the box when you plop in your DNA and you're going to mail it off, there was something on the inside of the box that said something like, be careful, you might be opening up a can of worms. And boy, was I wrong. I went, oh, well, I know everything in my family, so there's not going to be any worms. Yeah, big worms, a big jar of worms. So it turns out that the man that I assumed was my father was not my father. So I had to reach out to my mother and family for, some answers. And it turns out that my father is alive and well. He remarried after his many years as a helicopter medic in the Army. He met a lady and had 2 children, a boy and a girl. Now, there's a lot of things that I'm not going to say in this episode, but let me just tell you that it has, among other things, has really wrecked my relationship with my mother in the current standing. But things came out. My father had some things told to him that I was maybe his son, and there were 2 men involved in my mom's life, and she wanted the other guy, and so she lied to my real father and said she was carrying another man's baby in the first year of their marriage. So got the marriage canceled, and through the next few years, he was told by either my mom's family members or someone else that it was in fact his son. And when he saw me a couple times throughout my life, he noticed that I did favor him. And so he tried to ask my mom a couple times, is that really my son? And there was some drama. But what I've had to do through this whole process, y'all, is I've had to listen to what little information my mother gives, and then what information I've received from my sister and my dad. And I have placed all this puzzle together in the middle to create some sort of truth. And so the truth is that I'm here, I exist. And, I always grew up thinking, I wonder if I'm a shotgun baby, or I wonder if I'm a bastard baby, or I'm wondering if I was a mistake, or, stuff like that. And the way I hear it from my father is that I was conceived within the marriage, and it just happened that my mother was having another relationship at the time, and that's how all that came to be. But there's a lot more, of course, I would share if I felt comfortable and safe to do so. But I will say this. My sister reached out, my new half-sister reached out, and she told me that they had been searching for me their entire lives. They just didn't know how to spell my name. They thought I was born in a different month, etc., etc. Issues with my family and my mother. And so it just kind of became that they hoped someday I would reach out to them somehow, some way. Well, guys, science does its thing and creates DNA tests. And on a whim, I took it. And my family had taken, I guess my sister had taken a couple of the DNA tests, hoping that I would, and that's how we would all be brought back together. And that's exactly what happened. I took the test, I got the results, and suddenly it starts telling you, the app just keeps chiming you over and over with notifications. You've got a cousin in Greece, you have a cousin in Italy, you have a cousin in Spain. Well, after 1,000 cousins, I said, okay, this is a lot of fun, but I've had my fill. I'm going to mute the notifications, because at all times of the day, night and day, it would ring me and say, we found a cousin in Italy or something. So I paused all that. Well, fast forward to my aunt and sister saying that they received messages on Facebook that said, we're looking for Sean, our brother, not my brother, not our brother. And so that was kind of weird. And then I went to the app and hit refresh, and the app said, surprise, good news, we found a sister. And I went, wait, what? So I reached out to the messages that were, sent to me, and we connected and started talking for hours and hours and hours. She has a beautiful spouse and kids, and I flew out there and met them, and it's been a wonderful journey. It kind of feels like I've won the lottery. And it just kind of came to be that they had been looking for me for a really long time. And I love that. And I feel bad. I feel really bad that they knew of me. I knew nothing of them. I had no inkling at all. So it's a wonderful feeling and thought and idea that people were looking for me all of my life. I think that's really beautiful, and it just makes you get emotional, and it makes you think of all kinds of things. So when all this went down, I was able to meet my dad. I was able to meet my sister and her wife and their 4 kids. And it's been a really great journey. Now, when I called her and she said, your dad's alive and well, and a lot of the family's alive. My dad has 13 brothers and sisters. I was like, wait, what? Oh my God, what? And then all of a sudden, I'm told that I have a brother too. And so I wanted to, of course, reach out to him. And where he was in life at that particular time, he just was not ready, prepared, or interested to have an older brother in his life. And so it's been 7 years since we have confirmed that we shared DNA and that we're siblings. I have waited patiently. I have prayed, meditated, and waited for him to reach out. And so I got a call last Wednesday from my pop that said, your brother is ready to reach out to you and he wants to talk. And I was like, yes, please. So he reached out to me, and Pop gave me his number. So I texted him and I said, I'm flying, I'm on a trip, but as soon as I get to my flight attendant layover, I will call you. So we touched base through a couple text messages, and so I happened to be in Kansas City, just having dinner with the crew and shopping at the mall next door. And I said, you know what? Yes, this feels right. And it was, it was really a special, magical moment. I can't express to you what it feels like to know that someone is finally ready to open their mind and hearts to all this and figure out that they're ready for this journey. And so I really respect the fact that he was ready to talk. And, was I a little upset and jaded that he wasn't ready? Yes, absolutely. But then on the other hand, you have to respect someone that says, you know what? Mentally and where I am in my life right now, I am not ready to reach out. And that is okay. What are we always saying on the SayCo Show, guys? We are always saying what you feel is valid. And what he was feeling at that time, 7 years ago, it was valid. And I respect him for saying, look, I'm glad you're alive and well and that we found you, but I'm just not ready. And that's okay. Whatever was going on in my brother's life at the time, I respect that. But yeah, he reached out. So I'm at my crew hotel and I said, okay, this is really weird. It kind of felt like a dream or a movie or something. And I said, this is going to be a life-changing moment. And so I sat myself down. They had me in this skyscraper in downtown Kansas City. And so I'm on the 18th floor watching a tornado go by and a balcony. And I just opened up all the curtains to the balcony and watched the storm and called my brother. And it was scary and weird and nerve-wracking all at the same time. And the funny thing is, he really sounds like a version of my dad. Like, he sounds like my young pop. And so that was also a gift to hear my dad young in a way, because they phrase words a certain way. And I love, I've always had an admiration for accents and the way people speak. And so I was like, oh my Lord, he sounds like a young pop, a young dad. And so that was really cool. Now, I would be lying if I wouldn't say it was a comfortable conversation. It was extremely walls up, cautious. And that's okay. It is what it is. I'm looking forward to our next conversation. So I bet you guys are wondering what we spoke about. So we spoke about where we are in life, but it was a lot of back and forth as far as, well, what do you do? Where do you live? It was just kind of asking each other questions. And I kept trying to put the brakes on all that. I was like, good Lord, I don't want to talk about career. I want to talk, what do you do in your daily life for fun? You know, I was trying to break into the conversation a little more and just make it lighter. It was just a little too starchy, a little too heavy. And so I was like, slow down, bro. I want to know your favorite color. What's your favorite candy? What's your favorite sports team? You know, just slow up. And so I did that about 3 times, and I could just tell that either my brother was nervous or he was determined to say the things he wanted to say. And so we left it at that. Was it a 3-hour conversation? No. Like, me and my sister, I think we spoke for hours and hours and hours, those first conversations on the phone. And then when we finally met, I was on a layover. For those of you that are new to the show, I'm a flight attendant of 28 years. And so I told her, I'm coming to Albuquerque like next week. And so I flew out there right when we met and knew that of each other through the connection of the DNA test. And I said, look, you just grab some food and you come over to my hotel room where we're one-on-one, no family, no public scene. I just want me and you to look at each other and talk. And we talked for like 6 or 7 or 8 hours nonstop talking and just verifying information and stuff. And it was really, really special and life-changing. And you know that place where you know it's reality, but it doesn't feel like reality? That's kind of how it started feeling. But getting back to my first conversation ever with my brother in this lifetime, I can tell that he feels like we had very different lives. He brought that up like 3 times. And I don't know if he's been told something or he's assuming something. I don't know. But he just made it a point to say that he knows and understands that we've had very different journeys. I'm about 10 years older than him. And he's definitely had the harder road for multiple situations and reasons. None that I'll talk about publicly, but I know for certain reasons he's had a harder life, and there's nothing I can do to change that. If I was in his life to be the older brother and play protector, I would have. There's so many instances where you start backtracking and flashing back and wondering what would it have been, or how could it have been different, or what have you. But I didn't know of them. There's absolutely nothing I could have done to help him have a better journey. And I can't feel guilty for that, and I can't backpedal with coulda, shoulda, woulda, because there was absolutely no connection to any of this being reality until the DNA test. So, after I took the DNA test 7 years ago, I actually had to go and see a therapist for like 8 hours because I had to kind of figure out what channel all this was going to be put on in my brain. And, as a gay guy and as me, the real me, I'm pretty emotional. And people have pointed that out to me in my life. Mean people have said, oh, there's another dramatic fag. But people that are close to me that are in my inner circle or my chosen family, they know that I'm easy to cry. I cry at commercials, or I cry watching a movie, or what have you. And like even today, an example, we're in the car and I'm watching a clip where this person that has a speech impediment and is deaf, him and his wife, they're in their 70s or 80s, walk into a pawn shop that does a little video channel, and they're trying to sell all their jewelry just to make ends meet. And he's looking at all their stuff that looks like they took it out of a safe or something that they're real proud of. And he's telling them that their whole sack of jewelry is worth $160. And he's not interested in anything. But then he looks at the man's bracelet and he goes, now that bracelet I could probably give you some money for. So they look at each other and she says, it's okay. And he's reading her lips. And he takes his bracelet off and hands it to the pawn guy. And the guy weighs it and says, I could probably give you $900 for it. And they look at each other and they understood that they need the money. And so they are releasing that item that has been probably a gift from her to him for years and years and years. And he took off his bracelet so they could, have food and pay bills. And it just broke me. I told Michael, this is the saddest, most pitiful thing I've ever seen. And I busted out crying. That's just an example today. There's been 10 of those today. I've always been emotional. One of my great grandmothers was super nervous. They always said that she was a nervous person. And I was raised, to be nervous, and I was scared a lot on purpose. I guess I was kind of a rambunctious little boy. And so a lot of times my family, would scare me, and I would get really quiet and scared and cry and get nervous, and they would say things like, the boogeyman's outside and he's looking for little boys. And I would calm right down and start crying and get really scared. And no wonder I grew up to be such a nervous person because of some of the things that happened in my childhood. Anyway, so I've always been an emotional, nervous person. And like I've said on the show before, y'all, I have always been the glass is half empty. As hard as I try to be the best authentic self that I can be, I'm always saying do good, be good. I just am built that way. My makeup is the glass is half empty. I've always been that way. I try to be optimistic. I try to be as happy and fulfilled as I can, but I'm always worried about the future. I'm always worried, things are going so good, something must be coming bad, and I've always been that way. I've always thought that way. There's nothing really I can do to change things as hard as I try. And so I felt like, I felt like I was getting really emotional, and so I kind of pulled back a little bit on this first phone call to my brother ever in our lives, because I was either going to start crying or I was going to start not paying attention, or I was going to lose whatever I was feeling at the moment of being live on the phone with him. And so I kind of pulled back on the conversation. I don't know if he wanted to talk longer. And I just kind of pulled back and said, well, brother, I got to get going. And this has been wonderful. But the good thing that came out of this, guys, is that I've had a little bit of closure. And number two, it's checked off my to-do list, my bucket list. You know, when testicular cancer came knocking 3 years ago, I thought, shit, I haven't talked to my brother. And I really thought it was like my ticket out of here to go to part 2 of The Other Side. And when that didn't happen, I thought, man, I've got to talk to him. I've got to hear his voice, and I have to say, yes, I have audibly spoken to my brother in this life journey. And it happened. So it was such a good thing, such a blessing. And we ended the phone call by saying that we loved each other. And I told him, I can't wait to shake your hand or hug your neck or something. So the plan is the next time I'm in Albuquerque, I'm going to try to hook up with him and have dinner or coffee or something, just so I can say I've met him in person. So that's what's on the agenda. But it feels really good to check off such a big thing as that. It felt really good to just say, you know what? We've talked this way, and this is a great start. And I asked him, is he a chatter? Does he like to chat? Does he like to talk live? Should it be phone calls? Should it be texting? What should it be? And he was just so open. He said, whatever you want to do, brother. And so it felt really good. Those of you just joining the show, I see your questions are coming in. So I love that. I'll be glad to answer some of these. I also see that my sister is listening, and her wife is listening live right now. That's so cool. I'm glad you guys are listening in. Of course, this has a lot to do with y'all, so I'm really glad that you guys are listening in. I'm really careful what I say, because you guys know I'm an open book about everything. I'll tell y'all anything. I mean, we've talked about me losing a testicle. We're always talking about my big old gay life, and how dramatic everything is, in my opinion. But I'm kind of careful when it comes to blood family, because I don't want to say anything that's going to, number one, offend anyone. And I don't want any regrets, and I don't want to mess up the building blocks and foundation that my sister and her wife and my family has started building. And so I'm really, really careful as far as details and stories and whatnot, because I don't want to offend anybody. Oh, thanks, guys. They're saying we love you and we support you here in the Podbean live chat room. I appreciate that. If you have any questions about what we're talking about today, if you have ever taken a DNA test, if you found out about a sibling that you didn't know about, etc., our number live here in the studio is 615-805-4363. I'll say this, y'all. Be careful if you're going to take a DNA test, no matter what the company is. Be careful, because there are people out there that are probably related to you. Look at me. I assumed the man that died when I was 4 or something was my dad. And I was led to believe that and assume that for 48 years or whatever it was, 46 years. So just because you think you know your family or your parents does not mean you know the entire story. I lost an entire life with my siblings and my father. And that's really super sad. And could I dwell on that? Absolutely, I could dwell on that. But I'm going to choose to just say, okay, this is where the line was drawn in the sand, and we're going to build from this line. Even though I've had 7 years, 7 wonderful, blessed years with my sister and her wife and kids, I am ready to start building with my dad, who I call Pop, and my brother. We're getting some texts coming in here. So let me read some of these and we'll answer some questions on this topic. The first one is from Bill P, and he's asking, can you tell us more about your brother's journey, since you said he's had a harder journey? Well, I'll say this, guys. Everyone's life is written differently, even if you're in the same family and you were raised together. I've read books and watched movies where you'll have 3 siblings, and all 3 of those siblings will say big differences in how they were raised and what standards and morals they were taught and lessons they were taught. So it doesn't really matter if you grew up together or not. Y'all are going to say that it's a different story for everybody. If everyone carried a journal for their raising, you're going to read that their journey and lives were extremely different. It's everyone's vision into their journey. For me, I was raised very sheltered and religious. And so were we millionaires? No, but we always ate and had quite the colorful family. My brother's journey, he has a different story, guys. He was raised by a different mother, and with my pop. I was not raised with my dad, so he's got a different story. And even though he says that he fell on hard times, et cetera, he's trying to do better in his everyday life. And that's really, all we can ask for, is to just try to be the best that you can be in your daily life. My journey has been extremely different, but yet blessed. I knew at, I want to say, 5th grade that I was going to somehow escape. And what I was escaping from is my opinion. I felt like I was going to go down a wrong road or a bad road. And so pretty early on, with the experiences of my childhood and the trauma that was built into it, I have yearbooks from 5th grade that says, good luck with the airline, or you're going to be a great pilot, or good luck when you move away, stay in touch. I mean, I was telling friends and kids in my class in 5th grade that I was either going to work for the airline or be a pilot or move away. So if people ask me, what were you like a child? I was planning my departure. I was constantly told, you're not smart enough for college or to be an actor or to get an agent or to move to LA, which is what I wanted to do. I was constantly told, you would be really good as a background dancer or a blurry extras guy in a movie. You'd be good behind the camera. I was really never encouraged to do anything more than that, even though I was in every play through middle school and high school, and I tried community college. I tried community theater. I really wanted to pursue some sort of acting career. And I was really into photography as well. I wanted to be a photographer, and that was really early on. But my main goal that I always talked about was I wanted to be an airline employee, whatever that meant. And I think the way I was thinking as far as my escape and departure to what I thought might be my reality and my journey there back home, was get into some sort of traveling business where you either went on a plane, a train, a boat, something. Because I remember thinking really early on, like I knew I was different or queer or gay way before I knew anything about sex. It had nothing to do with lustful feelings. I just knew I was different. I think I've said on the show before, there was 2 little kids that lived on both sides of my grandmother's home. One was a little girl. I wanted to play with her, and she was fun, and I just loved her. and she'd give me gifts and say that I was her boyfriend. But there was a little boy that lived on the other side. I wanted to hold his hand, and that was at 4 years old, where I knew I was different. But yet at 4 years old, I knew to mask and act and bury. And so at 4 years old, I was splitting reality. I was splitting personalities. I was splitting, this is how I feel, but this is how I should act. I already knew with the manly men in my family, Greek, Spanish, Italian men, that I should not act on any of it. There was lots of times I was corrected about my tone or the way I walked or the way I played or the things I requested for my birthday or for Christmas. I was always schooled, boys, don't do that. Don't walk that way. Don't talk that way. Don't play that way. You can't have that toy, et cetera, et cetera. So I knew pretty early on that I had to create the person they wanted me to be. And I got real good at it, y'all. I got real good at it. Talk about an Academy Award performance. I can turn that on because I've memorized how to be that way since I was 4 years old, which is another show in its entirety. I could talk to you about, I've been acting since I was 4 years old. And for a long time, I really didn't know the real me. I think that's why so many people go, wow, he came out of the closet. He is so different. He divorced my sister and he's out in San Francisco. And guys, it's because we find the safety net, the real us, and you dive into, wow, this is who I want to be and how I want to act and love and feel. And so it's not that they're so different after the closet. You're just seeing the real guy that came out of the closet. That's all. You're really seeing the real one. But anyway, I could talk all about that for a whole 3 hours if I wanted to, probably more. But yeah, I really started acting a certain way at like 4 years old. I knew I was different. And my brother's journey has been completely different than mine. I wouldn't say mine was better or anything like that. I would just say they were different journeys. And he told me some things on the phone. He said, I wish you were around. I always wanted a brother. I always wanted an older brother. And I needed you to be there for me so you could protect me from the roads I was going to go down and the life lessons that I was, going to learn. And if I coulda, I woulda, but I wasn't there and I did not know of this family or anything about this until 7 years ago. But my family and my journey with my new sister and her wife and children and family has just been remarkable. I really say this, guys, with a genuine voice here that it really has felt like I've won the lottery. My family's not really big on homosexuality. And so now that I have met this family, they are very accepting, very open-hearted. They're very lovable. And I'm told many, many, many people in the family are gay and out and proud. And that the majority of the family loves and accepts them, which is what I've been yearning for, some sort of acceptance of my real true self for years, for a lifetime, guys. My sister is saying, I wish your sister and you would have met years ago and grew up together. That's my sister's wife. Absolutely. Thank you, sis, for saying that. I do too. I think it would have been a lot of fun to grow up together and realize our sexuality together. And I think it would have been such a great ride. I think it would have been really special but it's okay. We're doing it now, and we'll continue to do it now, and it's okay. Okay, so the question was from this gentleman. He's asking about my brother's life. Well, what I can share is that he has a different journey. He has a different path. He has his regrets and his problems just like anyone else. What is Dolly Parton always saying? I'm not going to judge you. Who am I to judge? I got enough problems of my own. That's how I feel about a lot of things, guys. I can't really say much because my brother's not here in the studio. I don't even know if he knows I'm doing a show on this right now. But I would say that he's had a tougher life than me because of some of his choices, but I don't want to judge on that. That has nothing to do with me. His past has nothing to do with me. We just started this relationship a few days ago, and everything in his life won't be judged by me because I don't want people to judge me, and that's just how I live my life. I don't want people to say, "Damn, what a jerk. Lord, he was difficult." I just don't want that. I don't want regret. So I try to be the best that I can be. Although I fall off my pedestal too. I'm human and I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. Whatever my brother's done is his journey, his story, and really not for me to talk about. But yes, I would say that my brother's had a harder life. Okay, next question. Let me see here. Okay, the next question is just from someone that has a bunch of numbers and letters as their call-in, and they're saying, when do you think you're going to meet in person for the first time? I don't know. I don't know. It just depends if I can find a long Albuquerque layover. And that would be the best, easiest thing where I have a hotel and we can be, one-on-one and just talk and look at each other. I just want to look at them. I want to see another masculine face that has some of my makeup. I think that would be really cool to look at him in the face and say, oh my gosh, yeah, we favor or we look alike in some way. I'm so intrigued of the idea to meet him for the first time in person. I think we're going to have a great conversation. It'll be a great visit. I'm super nervous. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous to meet him, but I'm super excited to meet him someday. Yeah, so. Okay, let me look over here, because a lot of you don't like to text in. The number here is 615-805-4363. But if you're shy, you can send an email, SayCo Show@writeme.com. So let me check some emails here and see if we have a question in the emails. Okay, we do. Okay, so she's asking if he has anything you can share about does he have a wife or a husband? Does he have a partner? Does he have children? Yes, my brother has a long time relationship with the mother of his 4 children. He has 4 girls. So I just went up the scale on nieces. He has 4 daughters. 2 of them are grown and out of the house, and there's 2 that are still in the house, and I can't wait to meet them and see pictures of them and be able to spread some more love that way. Okay, next text. Thanks for the email and the text, guys. Okay, so this one said, what did your brother ask you, or what did he answer about his favorite things? When I asked him just some silly questions just to wrap my head around what was happening, it was very movie-like. It felt like a dream world when I was talking to him, so I started asking him things. So yeah, he did say that he enjoyed things like camping, hunting, fishing, and that's just like my pop. And so we had some things to bond over. I told him that I've always loved going to Pecos out there on the river, and I have great memories of that. And he said that that was one of his favorite childhood things as well. So I thought that was really cool that we brought up the same type of things in our childhood that had good memories. And so that was definitely a bonding point right there, is that we were talking about Pecos, New Mexico. Who knows, guys? The world seems really, really big, but yet it's small. I might have played with my brother and sister and didn't even know it. There were times in my life that I had memories that didn't make sense. There was a time when I was in a grocery store and I was so young that I was sitting in the basket. You know how you put your kid through the 2 holes and their legs come through by the handle? And a lady came up to me, and I was young, y'all. A lady came up to me in the grocery. My mom, I guess, parked the basket and went an aisle over and said, "I'll be right back." And this lady was watching us, obviously. And when the coast was clear, she came up to me and said, "Do you know who I am?" And I went, "No, but my mom's here and maybe she does. She's right there." And I remember a conversation, and I remember thinking she kind of looks like someone in my family. And then she walked away. And then when we were at the registers paying for the groceries, she was a couple of registers over. She waved at me and smiled, and I just kept thinking, she looks like someone. She looks like a family member. She looks definitely more than like a friend. She looks like someone. And that has never left my memory. And I guess somehow it got really impressed in my brain, and I put that in a file where there's other things in that file. There was one time that we were in a furniture store, and I remember getting ripped by my arm as hard as we could, and we got in the car and drove away. And I thought, why didn't we finish shopping? And now I find out that one of my family members was in there with his family, and they recognized my mother and said, "Oh, wow, look at the boy. He looks like my father," is what he said. And so there are times and memories that are intertwined that I have no explanation for. So maybe that was an aunt or a cousin or my grandmother on my dad's side that recognized my mom and looked at me and wanted to talk to me and come up to me. I don't know. There's several instances that there were things I couldn't explain, that I kind of filed in that special little folder. Little did I know, all these years later, that things would kind of make sense now of those certain memories that happened in my life. But yeah, my brother likes to go camping and likes to be in the mountains, and that's me too. I like the mountains, and I like being away from people, and I like being by a river, and I've always been that way. And so who knows? My sister's family went to Pecos a lot and did some camping by the river, and so did my family. A lot of family reunions happened. So who knows? Maybe, just maybe, I was playing with my brother and sister at one point, and I didn't even know it. And I guess we'll figure that out when we watch our live recordings up in Judgment Day, I guess, when I cross over. Maybe, just maybe, I'll be told that that did in fact happen. Who knows? I don't know. But what I do know, and what I'm very secure about saying, is that I am going to pursue getting closer to these new relatives. And I feel bad that they looked for me for so long. It must have been agony knowing of me and not being able to find me. I think I had it easier. I did not know of them at all, so there was no upset about it for years and years and years. But when the app said, we found family, I was super surprised. So y'all be careful. You never know what you're going to find if you take a DNA test. It has been a blessing, though. Like I said, I felt like I've won the lottery, because this family is very open, very accepting, and everyone has been very gracious to me. And I know when people think, "Oh, wow, they found your son," we always thought that maybe that boy was your son. And then here I come in with a purse falling out of my mouth and oh so gay and femme. I wonder if they're laughing about all that too. If they're saying, "Oh my Lord, you found your son, but maybe you really found more like a daughter." And they've been very gracious about the whole thing, because Lord knows I am up there on the gay chart. But it's been quite the journey, and so remarkable. Oh, thank you. Sandra's saying, yes, a true blessing. I feel the same way, and I'm glad family's on this feed. Like I said, y'all, Podbean is where I found my journey after the radio station talk show, and I've been exclusively on Podbean, even though I've used other apps and social media to try to gain followers and have more fun with this hobby, it looks as though Podbean is ending the live feed. So in a few weeks, we will no longer be live. And it sucks because I am paid up through the year with Podbean. So we are figuring out what to do for the future. And I'll let y'all know as soon as I know. But this much I know. We will continue with the show this year, and we'll continue next year with season 4, and we'll figure it out. The sad part is every time I move platforms, like when I left the radio station, I lost a lot of people because they're not podcast listeners. So I lost a lot of followers that way. So every time you jump from another platform, you lose people, and that's okay. People like what they like. What I'm hoping is this. I'm hoping to push the show out a little more. And so this past week or two, I have pushed the SayCo Show onto 14 new platforms. And I'm super proud of that. And whether it takes off and I gain listeners on other platforms, that's great. I'm super excited about the future of all this. So we'll see how it goes. Y'all know that I love to talk, and I'm an open book on most things, and I love sharing my life and my journey through queer eyes. And I think that's needed right now. Our country's in such a mess, and the world is definitely looking at us differently. And so I want to continue to discuss, like I say, all things queer on the show, but also make it a little more real and touch base as far as my life and my journey, my career, what's important to me. And I know that there's a lot of gays that listen, but there's also a lot of allies that are listening, and I want to say thank you. I was looking at some of the stats of the show for the last month or so, and we sure get a lot of listeners here in the States, but we also get many listeners in Canada. Canada has been such a friend to the show. And then I was looking at some other places. India is listening, and Ireland is listening, and Down Under's listening. So I appreciate those of you that are listening, whether it's live or when it's downloaded. You guys download it, and I appreciate the downloads. The numbers are good, and we're going to just keep pushing through this. I joke because, when I'm listening to some podcasts that are my favorite podcasts, they're like, wow, we jumped another 1,000 listeners. And I'm over here with my tens and tens of people. So for those of you that have been so loyal and having fun along with me on this hobby, I so appreciate you. I'm hoping that I can touch more people on these other platforms. So you're probably wondering, what platforms are they? So let me find my list here. I'm real proud of it, y'all. And we've pushed the platform out, and we're going to just have as much fun as we can. We'll see what happens. As y'all know, I'm on REC Studio to come through the Spreaker app. That's Spreaker. Spreaker is connected to REC Studio. So I've been doing a lot of shows, little shows that are up to 15 minutes long over on Spreaker. It's really a fun, easy app. And so look for me if you're on there. And now you guys know that we're on Instagram and Facebook, small little pages there. And then, of course, we're on TikTok, Clapper, Blue Sky, and, of course, here on Podbean. And we're going to also be on Podchaser, Podcast Addict. We're waiting to get approved on Castbox. We're already on Deezer. That's Deezer. We're on Amazon Music and Audible, and we're also on Spotify and iHeartRadio. And I will just keep pushing through and learning how to be a podcast host. Now, y'all know that I'm learning as we go. I was looking for an outlet to talk about my cancer journey with testicular cancer, and somehow, some way, a few years ago, I was a talk show just got plopped in my lap with the first gay station here in Nashville. And so I was on Q72.5 and had such a ball, you guys. It was so much fun to play music and and talk about different things and have different musical guests on the show, and they were singing live and whatnot. So when that went under for funding, and I was like, wait, what? When the producers and owners told me that the doors were getting closed, I thought, well, what about my show? I'm just now getting the hang of this. And so a lot of people said, why don't you do a podcast? And so I'm still learning. I'm going to figure out this whole RCC feed and RSS stuff, and we're going to figure it out together. But for those of you that have been here and supporting me from the beginning, I so appreciate you. If you would, and if you feel comfortable, if you would, please like, share, and follow, just so we can get the numbers and the hits. If you have social media and you're comfortable sharing this episode, please do so we can find some new listeners. And even though we won't be live on Podbean, you never know, we might be live over on Clapper. We're going to keep searching and looking until we find an app that has the same features that I'm used to, because I have always been a live show. And I'd like to stay that way. So I'm going to still record the show after this feature gets turned off on this particular platform. I'm going to continue to record the show live, not edit it, and just upload it as is every Tuesday night. And we'll continue this journey together. I want you guys to please just go out and buckle up and be safe. I have some exciting news that's coming. And I'm probably going to be able to publicly share that come around the first of the month. So big news is coming in, I don't know, a week or so. So I don't know if it'll be next show, but it will be definitely the show after. I'm going to be sharing some really exciting news with y'all pertaining to the podcast and the show. So go out, buckle up, be safe. I hope you guys come back. And like I always say, please set a reminder. Get into your calendar, whether you're on an iPad or your phone. Set some alerts, reminders, set a clock, do something so you guys are always here with us on Tuesday. And if you need a fix between now and next Tuesday, please go over to those other platforms. There's a whole list on the Facebook page. Go out, buckle up, be safe, come back and see us again soon, right here on the Queer Show in Nashville. I love y'all, and I appreciate you guys letting me talk and vent, because this show is for you. This is your show, like I say, but it's also kind of medicine to me to be able to vocalize